Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick, Spiritual Life Coach. I'm thanking you for tuning in to Higher Energetic Resonance Inspirations. And this week, the topic is journaling. A quote from Julia Cameron, The Right to Write, an invitation and initiation into the writing life. Writing is medicine. It is an appropriate antidote to injury. It is an appropriate companion for any difficult change. And before diving into this week's episode, I just want to remind you that to receive additional meditation, journaling and inspirational quotes and notes from me, use the link in the show notes for this episode to join the Her Inspirations mailing list. You will also be gifted the free Embody Her course, which will run for 6 days. So let's get started. I'm a long-time journaler. I believe that I started journaling when I was in school. Single figures. I had little diaries that I was given for Christmas, and I always just wrote things about my day. I have no idea where I found out about journaling as a concept, but somehow I just took it on. Also, when I was younger, I was very much into writing stories and poems that then later expanded into songs. So I was always writing, and I have always been writing, and I will always be writing. And I'm always surrounded by various books that are filled with notes about certain things that I'm learning or things that I'm planning, or my journal, one or two journals. When I was compiling the information for this episode, I was just like, well, where did this actually start from? Who was the person that instigated the idea of journaling? So I was finding out that journaling can be found in the writings of many Roman philosophers, such as Marcus Aurelius. And these were philosophers who were then keeping journals about their thoughts, their reflections, and the kind of musings, the things that they were coming up to, that then went on to form their own specific philosophies. Then going forward into eras like the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, then they started to become spiritual or religious diaries, where monks and nuns would then be able to document their spiritual experiences, their thoughts, their prayers, their downloads, I suppose we would call them these days. Then moving on, then we have prominent travel journals during the 19th centuries. So then with the rise of exploration and travel, then individuals were then able to keep journals to document their journeys and their adventures. So then we were able to find out how they were feeling when they embarked on different cultures, new landscapes, and all the things that they were discovering about the world and themselves over this period. Then in the 20th century, then we had very prominent literary diaries. So authors and artists then started to record their creative processes, reflections that they may have, ideas that they may have, drafts of new works that they were creating. So writers like Virginia Woolf and Anne Nin have kept detailed diaries that have then offered a glimpse into their creative lives. And then also if we think of a famous diary like the Diary of Anne Frank, or even Man's Search for Meaning as well, if anyone's ever read that book, you'll find that these are diaries of people's experiences, and it also gives a real understanding of the journey that someone's been through, and I just find delving into someone's background and their thought process and what shifts they make, and also look at the areas that instigate those shifts within their lives is very inspirational to me. That makes me see that, okay, something's happening in my life that I may not be comfortable with. However, if I stick with it and work through it, I'll be able to see how this all kind of pans out in the end and it all makes sense. Another big journaling experience that I did over 10 years ago now, probably like 15 or 20, I read a quote at the beginning from Julia Cameron, and she wrote a famous book called The Artist's Way, which was very much about getting in touch with the creative aspect of yourself. And part of that, the practice of The Artist's Way included doing morning pages, she called it in this book. And it was very much about making sure that you were doing a specific amount of pages each day and just getting all of those thoughts and all of those feelings out of your head and onto the page. And it seems now that journaling has been now increasingly recognized for its therapeutic benefits. And many psychologists and therapists are now recommending journaling as a tool for their clients' self-expression, for their healing, for their personal growth. So I am a long-time journaler and I can only recommend its benefits. I find that journaling can be incredibly beneficial as a practice of self-reflection, expression, and a way to really monitor and track our growth. A lot of the time, because we're in the center of our lives, living our lives, there's a lot of things that we may not notice, or there's a lot of things that we may not recognize where something may have stemmed from. And it's sometimes also interesting to kind of take a look back on our previous diaries. I mean, I haven't looked at any of mine for many years, but it'd be interesting, I think, one day, an interesting exercise for me to look back and see what I was writing about 10 years ago and what was coming out of my mind at that point. Also, if you are specifically working on yourself, doing the work, working on your spiritual journey, spiritual healing, overcoming all of the things that may have gone through your life and trying to make sense of it and move forward. There are so many benefits from journaling that that's why I thought I'd make an episode and just share my thoughts and see how it would inspire you maybe to really dig deeper into it, or maybe even start if you've never done before. So I find as well journaling can be an act of self-care. So you're thinking, you're making an appointment with yourself. You're taking time to write and reflect and prioritize your thoughts and feelings so that you can then see where you're at. You can feel that you're getting an improved mental and emotional and spiritual connection with yourself as well. It's not always possible to talk about the things that are happening in our lives, but having that date with your diary, having that date with your journal gives you the opportunity to just get it all out. It's also a very freeing experience, which means that you can say things that you want to say but don't necessarily want people to hear, and just get it out of the mind onto the page and gone and away. And also within that, you start to really discover areas of yourself that maybe without journaling and having this practice with yourself, you may not get to that deeper aspect of yourself. You start to have a deeper understanding of who you really are, what your desires are, and also uncover your purpose. And also through your own journaling, you'll start to find out your own wisdom. You'll start to work out the tone and the voice of your own intuition and build a stronger connection with that. You can start to use your journaling for starting to be very intentional with your life, setting intentions, setting goals, and setting these down in writing. So you're putting a commitment, a contract with yourself almost, that can then give you some motivation so that you can see what it is that you're aiming for, and then also see how you can start to actively take steps and do work towards achieving that. And as you're moving forward, then you can set up a way that you can track your progress as you're moving towards those goals, track your emotional progress as you're moving towards those goals. A lot of the time when I'm creating things, there's a lot of times where it looks like nothing's happening. On the outside, there can be moments of questioning, moments of doubt, moments of maybe wanting to pivot and do other things. But sometimes just writing it down and getting it out and realizing it's just a moment in time. Also, if you've done things like this over and over again, there comes a point where you recognize a pattern and go, okay, I'm just going into this dip at the moment. I'm going to be out the other side. And a way to kind of speed up the process of that dip of nothing's happening, am I doing the right thing, is just to journal it out, get it out of your head, instead of having those thoughts swirling around and convincing you that what you're doing isn't the correct thing to do. Getting them out of the page and noticing that you've been there before will get you to the next stage easier. And while you're working and while you're going through life, if you're facing any things like any dilemmas, if you're having any challenges, writing about them can maybe bring through a fresh perspective. You can creatively brainstorm new ideas. You'll be able to kind of critically assess things that are coming up for you and come up with potential solutions, particularly if you allow yourself to just get into a flow state, a stream of consciousness writing where you're not trying to correct yourself or be grammatically perfect as you're writing, but just let everything come out at that point. And a lot of the time it's amazing what gets released and revealed to you when you just allow your pen to move across the page. When you're dealing with tough emotions, writing down your thoughts and your emotions actually can give you a cathartic release. It gives you a safe space to express and release what you're feeling and really get to the point where you are of healing and well-being. And I recently did this just a couple of weeks ago when there was a situation that could have gone left very quickly for myself because the situation had happened. There was nothing else that I could do to change it. And I was deeply upset about the whole thing. But I made a decision that I was going to sit with my journal. I actually made a decision to go one step further and add fasting to that as well. And really allow all of the emotions that I was feeling at any point during the day, any kind of frustrations, any anger, any sadness, any sorrow, anything that was coming up, to just get it out on the page whenever it came up and allow that to happen. It really worked for me. I found that during that 3-day period, which is the period that I did it for, that I woke up on the third morning just feeling clear, feeling lighter, feeling that I'd really happened upon a process that truly works for me. So whether you want to incorporate fasting into any kind of deep introspection is totally up to you. I'm just sharing what worked for me, and I found it super powerful, and I will be doing it on a regular basis, even when I'm not trying to work through anything, because of the shift that it gave me. And when it comes to a deeper healing journey, when we're trying to really look at any past traumas that we've been through, journaling is such a therapeutic tool. And it gives us the opportunity to confront and process any traumatic experience that we have had, or maybe going through at the same time, and deal with them in a controlled way. We can then start to find ways of reducing the emotional impact of those experiences by just allowing the emotions to go through. So this is not about pretending that things are not happening, ignoring them, or using all the suppressive behaviors that we would normally do to cope with anything that we're going through. It's allowing it to come at an accelerated pace. I referenced a story that I've just told you about my experience. Everything just came through that had I have not had that practice, maybe I'd still be in the state where I was bitter and sour and, just deep in the shock and the hurt of that experience, whereas just really focusing and being super intentional about, I'm going to get this out and deal with those hard emotions and feel how this feels to me. And going a step further is then taking on the responsibility. It's like things don't just necessarily happen to us. Sometimes we are culpable in some way, and also being deadly honest about your role, and talking from my experience, deadly honest about my role in the situation, how it was that I allowed that to happen. What came up for me in that instance was I wasn't listening to myself. I wasn't listening to my own intuition about the situation. I could have avoided the whole thing months before, but I chose not to. I chose to override what I was feeling, and as a result, what happened. But by going through that, this is not to chastise myself, it just highlighted to me that there is something that's guiding me. There is a truth, there is a voice, my intuition is on point. And when I'm feeling all the feels, and when I'm having clear and loud messages, to honour them as opposed to override them and go through the pain. But sometimes we go through the pain to realise that we need to honour the voice. So I hope you understand that part. So yeah, healing trauma, going through difficult situations really works on also just looking at your patterns, seeing things that may trigger you, look at why things trigger you. and look at maybe behaviors that may be holding you back or kind of sabotaging your own healing journey. What is it about being healed, being in the fullness of yourself that you're trying to limit? Where do you feel unsafe about that? The journal is just the perfect place to dump all of this. And then a beautiful side of journaling is to have a journal or use the same page. I got gifted a journal over Christmas, which has a few lines per day. And I'll use that one just to write down things that I'm appreciative of, things that I have gratitude for, things that are positive about that have happened in that day. You can really then highlight the instances of positivity that's happening in your life. Sometimes when life is challenging, things are changing, the world is shifting as we're all experiencing right now, it can be quite difficult to go, well, okay, where's the sunshine? All I'm seeing is clouds. But by noticing the small aspects, the small gifts that you have, the things that went right in your day, even in the micro level, and building those up, it will have this accumulative effect that even though things are challenging, things are still good, things are still working out. It cultivates a more optimistic mindset for you. It makes you feel more well-being, even in the face of everything changing. And also the part that I love the most is the opportunity to connect to your spirituality. Journaling can really facilitate a deeper connection with your practices, with your beliefs, with your intuition. Also writing about spiritual experiences, writing about coincidences, synchronicities, any insights that you gain during any meditations that you have, downloads that you have, words that you hear from strangers that shift your life, quotes that you read wherever that really shift your whole perspective. All of this just kind of creates your own, as I talk about in my coaching, creating your own spiritual philosophy is you really seeing in written form your own wisdom and how your life is feeding you all the information you need to be the person that you want to be. It's all there already, and sometimes we forget because we just don't take note of it. The journal is the perfect place to just write your own, dare I say, Bible, your own spiritual text that is all about you. So when we're practicing journaling, just some tips and shares that I can share with you is create a journaling routine that resonates with you and meets the needs that you have around journaling. And especially if you want to incorporate it into your healing work, into your spiritual work, into your self-development work, I would say make it sacred, make it an appointment with yourself. Maybe you want to journal first thing in the morning when you just wake up and you still have all those beautiful feelings from your dreams and your imagination, or even at the end of the day as well, where you might want to just contemplate the end of the day. For me, I actually do a little bit of both. I have the bigger diary for the morning, the bigger journal for the morning, and then just the smaller one to just write some points about what was good about the day. For me as well, I am very particular about my pens. I'm very particular about my journals. I don't necessarily have a specific place that I journal. Sometimes if I just wake up and the journal's there by the bed, I'll journal in bed or sit by the window and allow the sun to come through as well. Some may journal on their meditation mat. However you want to do it, you can really elaborate on that. You might want to light a candle, light incense, play music. Whichever way works for you, it's just creating what fits for you and creating your own spiritual philosophy again. And also when it comes to what to write, that's totally up to you. There's nothing right, there's nothing wrong. Maybe you're working through something, so that would be the focus. Or sometimes maybe you've got nothing, Sometimes when I've got nothing, instead of beating myself up about not having anything, I'll just write, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. And then sometimes as I'm writing, I've got nothing, it'll be like, oh, but actually, and something will come through. Or sometimes you just don't have anything, but at least you've written something in the page to say that you've just put a few lines in, but you've got nothing, but you've written something. You can do a stream of consciousness, a flow writing exercise, which is great fun where you just allow whatever, you just brain dump, you mind dump, you intuition dump, whatever comes through, and just let it go, not even stopping to make your writing more legible, not stopping to correct any grammar, and maybe not even going back and ever reading it again. I have had times before where I've done a stream of consciousness writing for a few minutes, like 5-10 minutes or so, and then gone back to read it and found like little phrases and words and things like that sometimes have ended up in blog posts or in lyrics of songs when I used to write more songs before. Again, writing is about just getting it out of your head so that it's just less load, it's less things that are circulating that you're trying to figure out, that you're trying to put solutions to. Putting it on the page means that maybe you come back to it later, or maybe once you've got that out on the page, the answer will come to you somehow during the course of the day. It's great so that you can record your life as well, just to kind of look back and see your own growth and your own progress. Sometimes as well, I wonder what my 10-year-old self was writing about, and it will be interesting just to kind of go back into those old books and see where I was at. It's a place that you can tell your secrets to. Use your journal to put your thoughts down, everything that's going through your mind, and you can keep it secret. It doesn't have to be published unless you choose for it to be published. But I will always say that whatever it is that you feel about journaling, continue, amp it all up. But I've found it to be probably one of the most useful things that I've ever undertaken in my life. It's helped me in a multitude of ways, and I will continue for as long as possible. My journaling is always done pen and paper, old style. I have tried to do it digitally, and as much as I use devices all the time, I've literally got 2 here. At the moment, I've got my notes on my iPad, I'm recording on my laptop. I do prefer a nice, cute pen and a beautiful journal. But all of that is to say, you do you. Whatever works for you, whatever you feel is the perfect place for you to get your thoughts down. And to close, from Carolyn V. Hamilton, Art Improv 101, How to Create a Personal Art Journal. Documenting little details of your everyday life becomes a celebration of who you are. Thank you so much for listening. So if you're receiving value from this series and you want to go deeper, then I invite you to join the mailing list so that you can receive additional learning points for you to meditate, contemplate, do your journaling on, as well as you do your self-work. And also as you sign up, you'll receive the free Embody Higher Energetic Resonance 6-day course. If you're ready to take the next step in your transformation and you want support, accountability, radical honesty, contact me to find out about my personalized one-to-one spiritual life coaching program. My website is carolmaywhittick.com, carolmaywhittick.com. On Facebook, Carol May Whittick. On Instagram, Casmic, Cazmick. Enjoy your week, and till the next episode. Bye.